The city never truly slept. Chicago's streets buzzed with neon lights, restless footsteps, and the occasional siren cutting through the night air. On Ashland Avenue, two officers sat in their patrol cruiser, both restless and bitter from another long shift. Officer Daniels, tall and arrogant, drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, his eyes scanning for trouble. His partner, Officer Reeves, younger but eager to prove himself, kept one hand near his holster, as though danger lurked on every corner. Then they saw her. A black woman in a fitted leather jacket, jeans and boots, walking with a quiet, unshaken confidence. She wasn't looking at them, wasn't bothering anyone. But in their eyes, she was a target. Daniels smirked. "She fits the profile," he muttered. Reeves nodded. "Yeah, probably up to something." Without hesitation, Daniels flicked on the patrol lights, flooding the street in red and blue. The woman stopped, turned slowly, her expression unreadable. "Ma'am, stop right there," Daniels ordered, stepping out, flashlight in hand. "We need to ask you a few questions." Her tone was calm but firm. "On what grounds?" Reeves scoffed. "Don't get smart, just comply." She didn't move, and that was all the excuse Daniels needed. He lunged, gripping her wrist, twisting it behind her back. Reeves snapped the cuffs on, the steel locking with a final click. A small crowd gathered, their murmurs echoing. Phones came out, recording. The woman didn't resist, didn't panic. She simply breathed steadily, her eyes fixed on the ground. But if the officers had looked closer, they would have noticed the glint in her gaze, dangerous, calculating, patient. They thought they had control, but they had just cuffed the wrong woman. The crowd grew thicker as the two officers tightened their grip on the woman. Some onlookers shouted, "She didn't do anything." Others held up their phones, recording every second. But Daniels didn't care. He thrived on control, on proving he could bend anyone beneath the weight of his authority. "Empty your pockets," Reeves barked, tugging at her jacket. Her voice was calm, steady, unnervingly so. "You're making a mistake," Daniels sneered. "Oh yeah? And what mistake is that?" For a brief second, she lifted her eyes to meet his. There was no fear in them, no pleading, only a cold, measured calm that made him falter, the kind that ends careers. Daniels scoffed, masking his unease with arrogance. "Save the attitude. You're going downtown." They shoved her toward the cruiser. The crowd murmured louder now, some chanting, "Let her go." But Daniels and Reeves ignored them, determined to flex their authority. As Reeves opened the back door, the woman leaned slightly closer and spoke just loud enough for him to hear, "You don't want to do this." Reeves froze. Something about her tone. It wasn't a plea, it was a warning. "What are you, a lawyer? Some activist?" He shot back, forcing her into the car. She gave the faintest smirk, "Closer than you think." For the first time that night, Reeves hesitated. Daniels noticed, snapping, "Don't let her mess with your head. She's nothing." But as the cruiser pulled away, sirens fading into the night, the woman sat calmly in the back seat, her posture straight, her expression unreadable. Because she knew something the officers didn't. Their reckless show of power had just put them face to face with a federal agency. And she was its weapon. The fluorescent lights of the precinct flickered as Daniels shoved the woman through the front doors. Reeves followed close behind, still rattled by her earlier words. The desk sergeant looked up, frowning. "What's the charge?" Daniels puffed out his chest. "Suspicious behavior. Possible gang affiliation." The sergeant raised an eyebrow. "Walking down the street?" His tone dripped with doubt. Daniels ignored it, tightening his grip on the woman's arm, as though forcing her into submission would somehow justify the arrest. "Put her in holding," Daniels snapped. The woman didn't resist as they removed her cuffs. She simply rubbed her wrists, calm as ever, then sat on the bench with a controlled poise that unsettled even the sergeant. Reeves tried to shake off his unease. "We should run her ID, see what comes up." Daniels nodded, smirking. "Yeah, let's see who this smart mouth really is." The sergeant slid the ID card into the scanner. The machine whirred, then beeped. A strange look crossed his face, confusion first, then disbelief. He scanned it again. Same result. "What is it?" Daniels asked, impatient. The sergeant leaned back, his voice low. "This says she's federal, Homeland Security clearance, level 6. Reeves blinked. "That can't be right." The woman finally spoke, her voice steady, filling the silence. "It's right, and you've just made the worst mistake of your careers." Daniels laughed nervously, trying to wave it off. Some kind of fake ID. Criminals make good copies these days, but even as he said it, sweat formed at his temple. The sergeant's eyes stayed locked on her file. "This isn't fake, Daniels. If it is, the system itself would have to be compromised." The room fell silent, and the woman simply smiled. The woman's calm smile spread like a crack in the officer's confidence. Reeves shifted uncomfortably, his voice low. "Daniels, if this is real, we're—" "Shut up!" Daniels snapped, though his voice wavered. He turned back to the woman, desperate to regain control. "All right, enough games. Who are you really?" She leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. Her eyes locked onto his with a steady intensity. "Special Agent Jordan Cross, Deep Cover Division. And congratulations, by cuffing me tonight, you've blown a 3-year investigation." The sergeant's jaw dropped. Reeves' face went pale. Daniels tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. "You expect us to believe that?" Agent Cross tilted her head slightly, her tone sharp as a blade. "Run the clearance code on the back of my ID. You'll see who I report to." The sergeant hesitated, then picked up the phone. A quiet call was made, his voice low but urgent. Within moments, his expression shifted from disbelief to dread. He hung up slowly, his hands trembling. "She's telling the truth," he said finally. "Washington just confirmed she's one of theirs, and they want her released immediately." Reeves's stomach twisted. Daniels, however, doubled down, his pride blinding him. "She's bluffing. She has to be. Nobody important looks like her." Those words hung heavy in the room. The crowd of officers nearby froze, their eyes narrowing at Daniels. Agent Cross didn't flinch. Instead, she rose to her feet, her presence commanding. "You don't realize what you've done. My cover is blown, years of work endangered, and a criminal organization now alerted. All because you couldn't see past your bias." Her voice dropped, cold and final. "And now, gentlemen, you don't answer to me, you answer to Washington." The precinct phones rang almost instantly, the shrill sound slicing through the tense silence. The desk sergeant answered, his tone respectful, every yes sharper than the last. When he hung up, his eyes were grim. "Orders from Washington," he said quietly. "She's to be released immediately, and Internal Affairs is being dispatched to review this incident." Reeves' face drained of color. "Internal Affairs? Tonight?" The sergeant nodded. "They're already en route." Daniels slammed his hand on the desk. "This is insane. We can't just let her walk. She's dangerous. Look at her." Agent Cross stepped closer, her calm aura more powerful than any shouting. "Dangerous to who? Criminals? Or men like you who think a badge gives them the right to humiliate whoever they please?" Her words hit like bullets. Officers around the room looked down, some ashamed, others quietly agreeing. Daniels fumed, but his voice cracked as he barked back. You think you can ruin me? I've been on this force 15 years. Cross's eyes narrowed. "And in 15 seconds your career will be gone." Reeves tried to speak, his voice trembling. "Agent Cross, we didn't know. If we'd known—" She cut him off sharply. "That's the point. You didn't care to know. You saw my skin, not my identity, and that blindness has cost you everything." The precinct doors swung open with force. A team of men and women in suits walked in, badges flashing, Internal Affairs. Their leader's voice boomed. "Officer Daniels, Officer Reeves, step aside. Effective immediately, you are both under investigation for unlawful arrest and misconduct." Daniels' mouth opened, but no sound came. "And Agent Cross?" She finally allowed herself the faintest smile. The reckoning had begun. Daniels and Reeves stood frozen as Internal Affairs agents surrounded them. The smugness that once dripped from Daniels' face was gone, replaced by a sickly shade of panic. Reeves, shaking, muttered, "This can't be happening." The lead investigator stepped forward, handing Daniels a folder. "We've reviewed your body cam footage, civilian recordings, and tonight's report. You escalated without cause, cuffed a federal agent under false pretenses, and obstructed an active investigation. This isn't just misconduct, it's career suicide." The room was dead silent. Officers who had once laughed at Daniels' arrogance now whispered among themselves, their loyalty shifting. Daniels tried to bark back. You can't end my career over one mistake. Agent Cross stepped forward, her voice cutting through the room like steel. One mistake? This wasn't a mistake, it was a pattern. Tonight, your prejudice finally caught up with you. And it didn't just hurt me, it jeopardized national security. Reeves buried his face in his hands, the weight of it sinking in. Daniels, however, lunged forward, pointing at her. You set us up. You wanted this to happen. Cross didn't flinch. She met his rage with cold calm. No, officer. You set yourself up the moment you chose bias over duty. The internal affairs team cuffed them now, Daniels and Reeves, dragged toward the very cells where they had thrown countless others. The irony wasn't lost on the watching officers. As the doors slammed behind them, Agent Cross adjusted her jacket, her calm presence unshaken. The sergeant approached cautiously. Agent Cross, what happens now? She looked toward the exit, her eyes sharp with purpose. Now, I rebuild the case they nearly destroyed, but their downfall will serve as a reminder. Abuse of power has consequences. And with that, she walked into the night, justice restored.